People always like to talk about all the mechanics we lost starting in Sword and Shield from Dexit that they want to come back, like Pursuit, Megas, and things like that, which is definitely a fair comment to make. With Pokémon Champions, we're potentially getting some of these mechanics back, and I'm sure many fans are excited for that. However, there are some Dexited mechanics that, in my opinion, should stay Dexited due to their toxic nature back when they were previously used, any glitches they caused that made the game unplayable, or if they would have game-breaking interactions with new Pokemon or new mechanics. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing removed Pokemon mechanics that should stay gone in Pokemon Champions. First, we have the move Assist. This move was introduced in Generation 3, and it works by calling a move that one of your party Pokemon knows. Think of it kind of like Metronome, except instead of randomly selecting from all moves, it's just moves from other Pokemon in your party. This gives you way more control in what moves get called, and naturally, it got completely abused in Gen 5, Gen 6, and in National Dex by the Pokemon Liepard. Liepard learns Assist and also has the ability Prankster to give Assist +1 priority, and there were 3 main strategies on cart that got abused, which involve the moves Dive, Dark Void, and Roar. There are some great videos on these strategies that go into a lot more depth than I'm going in here, but here's the general idea for each of them. Dive is a 2-turn move with a semi-invulnerable first turn, so Liepard calling Dive while holding a lagging tail means that it could go first when it calls Dive and go second when it uses Dive, effectively making it completely invincible. Dark Void puts both targets to sleep, which instantly shuts down your opponents since the move is being used with priority. Roar switches out your opponent but normally has negative priority, so being able to be called by Prankster Assist gives it positive priority, allowing you to spam Assist and chip your opponents with entry hazards. All of these strategies got patched out in later generations, with Assist being removed from the game entirely in Sword and Shield. There was a 4th strategy that was exclusive to the National Dex fan format on Showdown, and is the main reason that I don't want to see Assist return. Generation 9 introduced the move Revival Blessing, which revives a fainted ally to half of their max HP, but is balanced out by only having 1 PP. In National Dex, this move was able to be called by Assist, which has 32 max PP, allowing you to revive your ally Pokemon 32 times more than intended with priority. This combined with Terra Electric Shedinja were what resulted in the National Dex Anything Goes ladder being shut down. Sure, this strategy could just be patched out in Champions by not allowing Assist to call Revival Blessing, but even if they did that, I don't see any way that this move could have healthy use with its history of completely breaking the game. Next, we have Gems. Gems were single-use, consumable held items introduced in Gen 5 that increase the power of the user's damaging move of a certain type, with there being 1 for every type. Some fans even consider them to be the first generational gimmick, as their original effects are exclusive to Gen 5. They were pretty broken in the lower power level formats of Gen 5, so in a modern format like Gen 9 or whatever Champions is considered, they would be insanely powerful. The original boost that Gems provided was 50%, the same as Choice Band and Choice Specs. While they are only single use and only worked on a single move type, they don't lock you into the first move you use, aren't used up if hitting into a Protect or if the move misses, can be used on spread moves, and can be used on multiple Pokemon on a team. In singles, they allowed you to have a consistent answer to walls that would normally be used to stop a sweep. In doubles, similar things could be said, but since they could also be used to power up spread moves, and VGC is 4v4, it could allow you to potentially take down half of your opponent's team with 1 move. When you consider that Z moves, the gimmick of Gen 7, could only be used on 1 Pokemon per team, could be countered by Protect since they only dealt 25% damage and still caused the crystal to be consumed, and forced almost all of them to be single target moves, you'll start to realize just how broken Gems were. Imagine it being used on either of the Calyrex riders in conjunction with Helping Hand or Terra. Nothing is living that. Maybe they could be balanced if they counted as one item, so multiple of them wouldn't be allowed by the item clause, or if they were still consumed when hitting into a protect, or their power boost was only 30% like the normal gem ended up being given. But in their Gen 5 state, they are way too powerful to bring back and give to these incredibly powerful modern Pokemon. Next, we have Hidden Power. This move was introduced in Gen 2 and was dexited in Sword and Shield. I expect this to probably be the most controversial entry on this list, but the reason I don't want Hidden Power to return is probably not for the reason you're thinking of. Hidden Power was a 60 base power special attacking move that changed type depending on the user's IVs, and that's the reason right there. For as long as competitive Pokemon has existed, there has never been a way to change a Pokemon's IVs except for bringing them up to 31 through hyper training. As far as we know in Pokémon Champions, although I'm making this before the game has been released, so this is mostly just speculation, IVs are gone. All Pokemon are set to having perfect 31 IVs across the board, and while they have made a very nice way of changing EVs, which they are now just calling stat points, it seems that IVs are gone forever. Overall, I like this decision. 95% of difficulty in obtaining competitive Pokemon in modern games that have things like Nature Mints and Hyper Training comes down to the inability to reduce IVs to 0. Making some IVs 30, the requirement for most hidden power types, is even more of a pain, and if there isn't an easy way to do it, I don't want the move at all. Now let's say that Game Freak makes Hidden Power not tied to IVs and allows you to freely change the move's type with no problem. It still clashes with Terra Blast, which is just a higher commitment, higher payoff version of Hidden Power, so it feels weird to have both at the same time. It clashes with Dynamax since that allows any Pokemon to have any max move type. With Dynamax increasing the power of 60 base power moves to 110, and max moves having incredibly powerful secondary effects, I'm certain that there are some combos that would break the game. In a format without Terra or Dynamax, and assuming that they aren't tied to IVs in any way, I think it could probably be fine, but that's a pretty big assumption. Keep it limited to unknown. Next, we have Return and Frustration, mostly Frustration though, since I think Return could actually be okay if done right. Like Hidden Power, my main issue with these are more about the differing nature of Pokémon Champions rather than their actual functionality, although there are issues with that as well. Return and Frustration vary in power based on the Pokemon's friendship level, with Return having a max power of 102 at max friendship, and Frustration also having a max power of 102 but at minimum friendship. As far as we can tell, Champions doesn't exactly have an overworld to walk around with your Pokemon, or NPCs to talk to, or anything like that where friendship would actually be relevant, so it doesn't really make sense for a move to vary in power based on that. It also just doesn't feel super appropriate for a move to get stronger when a Pokemon's friendship is lower, especially when Champions has temporary trial recruiting. It would basically mean that you rent a Pokemon and intentionally mistreat it for 7 days so that one of its moves becomes stronger. If we put these issues aside and assume that Return functions as a plain 102 base power physical normal move with no drawback, I could only see it working if its distribution was cut significantly, definitely not as a universal move like it was before. As a universal move, Mega Evolutions that had abilities that changed normal moves into stab moves were able to abuse the heck out of it, since they also got a 30% boost on top of that, 20% after the nerf. There was also Mega Kangaskhan that didn't change the type of normal moves, but was a normal type itself, so it was just a solid stab move on it that hit twice thanks to its ability. For other physical attacking normal types though, I think it's perfectly fine, it's just that these ridiculously powerful Mega Evolutions kind of ruined it for everyone. Normal will never hit anything for super effective, so a regular normal type having access to a strong, no drawback stab move would not be game breaking. Next, we have Hail. It's debatable if this even counts as a Dexited mechanic since it was reworked rather than taken out, but it's close enough, so I'm leaving it in. From Generation 3 to 8, the Ice-type weather condition of Hail chipped all non-Ice-type Pokemon by 1/16 of their max HP every turn, and that's it. With no stat boost and only one type being immune to the chip damage, it was way harder to build a team around it compared to the other weathers. Sand also has chip damage, but 3 types are immune, with Steel being good defensively, Ground being good offensively, and Rock getting a 50% special defense boost. This makes it significantly easier to build a team around since you aren't forced into using the worst defensive type in the game to be immune to the chip damage. Rain and Sun are different in that they grant damage boosts to water and fire type moves, so you don't have to be one of those types, you just have to have one of those types of moves. In Gen 9, Hail was reworked into Snow, which is so much better than Hail ever was. It doesn't deal any chip damage to any Pokemon, but it does give Ice-type Pokemon a 50% defense boost. This makes it so that you aren't actively hurt by using non-Ice-type Pokemon, but you are actively rewarded by using Ice-type Pokemon. The fact that Hail dealt chip damage that affected all non-Ice types with no real benefit like Sand had for special defense to Rock types was what really made Hail bad, and with Ice types actually having an okay weather now with Snow, we definitely don't need Hail back. Next, we have Sky Drop. This move was introduced in Gen 5 and Dexited in Sword and Shield. It's kind of like Fly in that it gives you a semi-invulnerable turn, but it also forces the target into a semi-invulnerable turn. If you move before them, they lose their action on that turn, and if you move after them, they lose their action on the next turn. As I touched on with the assist section, moves with a semi-invulnerable turn can make for some incredibly broken strategies, and the strategy with Sky Drop went like this. Be faster than your opponent, Sky Drop them, and have your ally use Trick Room on that turn. Since your opponent was slower on the turn of getting picked up, they lose their action, but since they're faster on the semi-invulnerable turn from Trick Room, they also lose their action on that turn. Have your ally use Trick Room again to reverse the dimensions back to normal and repeat. While this can only be used consistently when you're up 2 versus 1 in a double battle, the fact that this exists at all doesn't really feel right. In Gen 5, a glitch occurred when Gravity is used while a Pokemon is in the semi-invulnerable turn, where the target will be stuck there, unable to move. In Sun and Moon, a glitch occurred when Sky Drop is used on a Pokemon that uses Spiky Shield, where Spiky Shield won't be recognized, causing the attacker to reach 0 HP and all moves targeting the attacker will fail. Sky Drop is also weight dependent, with targets 440.9 pounds or more not being affected, adding another level of variance. Sure, these issues could be patched out, but like Assist, don't even take the risk. Lastly, here's a lightning round of moves that shouldn't return, not because they're so broken, but because they're so useless and forgettable that no one would care if they were lost forever, and they would just take up unnecessary space if they did come back. We got Bide, Camouflage, Constrict, Egg Bomb, Foresight, Gear Up, Ion Deluge, Laser Focus, Meditate, Miracle Eye, Mud Sport, Natural Gift, Nature Power, Odor Sleuth, Rage, Sharpen, Smelling Salts, Venom Drench, and Ring Out. Comment if you know of a genuine use for any of these moves that would warrant bringing them back. And those are removed Pokemon mechanics that I don't want to see return in Pokémon Champions. Let me know if you disagree with any of my reasonings, what mechanics I missed, and what mechanics you do want to see come back. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, just leave a nice comment since I do read all comments. You can also become a member for 99 US cents a month to get a badge next to your name and early video access like all of these lovely people. If you want bonus content, check out my second channel, Extra Bell, where I post videos I've scrapped from the main channel, as well as more casual, unscripted videos. Likes are also one of the ways that YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves to be, I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching.